Like many other constantly online people who are obsessed with video form essays, I am very familiar with the commentary YouTubers that have cornered the market on making content about content. Some may even consider me to be a commentary YouTuber, but I think that the term YouTuber is a bit too generous. The phrase commentary YouTuber can refer to a lot of different niche creators on the platform. And to be honest, it can mean almost anything. You can watch commentary on movies, on politics, on social issues, on philosophy, and commentary on commentary, like you're watching now. But the micro-genre of commentary YouTube that I would like to talk about today has to do with the reaction-based comedians and the success that they've found talking about the silliest or cringiest parts of society. Whether it be alpha males or Christian women or out-of-touch celebrities, there is a definite market for videos poking fun at people for being cringy. Many of the jokes in these commentary videos are absolutely funny, but it begs the question, why are they funny? Why does it feel more alright to laugh at someone else when you are, I guess, watching the content mediated through a YouTuber? There's something that we as audiences kind of enjoy about laughing at someone else's expense, and then there's something about the internet that makes it more pleasurable to do so, or at least less shameful. I want to make it clear from the start that the title of this video is a little misleading to just get a reaction. Evocative language is what gets people's attention. It's the same thing that makes us click on videos like "That's cringe," or "The worst movie ever made," or "Why People Hate Me" by Taylor Swift and Brendan Urie. It gets our attention and it immediately clues us into what kind of content we're about to watch. You're about to watch somebody make some jokes about somebody doing something embarrassing or at least silly, and it's going to be enjoyable. But why? According to Caleb Madison, who wrote an article for The Atlantic, the term cringe has evolved over the years, starting with the word cringin, meaning to fall, to yield in battle, to give away, to become bent, to curl up, to our current use of cringe, which is to recoil in embarrassment, shame, or fear. Madison then continues to explain that cringe became a popular form of comedy on television, i.e. The Office or Curb Your Enthusiasm, and in the past few years it's gained a lot of relevance online. The word cringe has increased in usage in the last 10 years, hitting its first peak in 2016 and then its biggest peak in 2022. It's normal to see it being used by newscasters, and it's starting to be used as an adjective rather than just a verb.
Trying to connect with all the alpha males out there by having Tim Walz post cringe videos.
Something doesn't just make you cringe, it is cringe. It's cringy.
Cringe videos.
Caitlin Tiffany wrote about the success of cringe culture online as follows. It's because we've been given more opportunities to display our cringeworthy characteristics, and also to point out the cringeworthy behavior of others. Whereas people used to feel secondhand embarrassment on behalf of their friends and family, or once at their own awkward behavior, they are now exposed to the potentially embarrassing behavior of entire social networks. Before its popularity on the internet, cringe comedy was mostly found fictionalized, like in the aforementioned sitcoms, or in more detached forms like America's Funniest Home Videos. Now, not only are we able to access the cringiest parts of someone, those cringy bits are attached to a person and a profile and extensive information that within a few clicks, you can know. There's something about this combination of disparagement humor, parasocial relationships, and being behind the safety of a screen that adds to our enjoyment of cringe content. Why do we enjoy cringe? And I say we very intentionally because I watch plenty of cringe-based content. Contradictory to what I put in the title, your faves probably are funny. But it isn't just being funny that makes them successful. But who are the faves? For the sake of this video, I'm referring to mostly personality-based channels that make content based on reacting to somebody else's content. Primarily, I am referring to creators who were very popular during the years of like 2018 to 2022-ish. And those people are Noel Miller, Cody Ko, Danny Gonzalez, Drew Gooden, and Curtis Connor. These five are who I'm primarily going to focus on today, but this is kind of a genre, so it's fluid, but it also expands way beyond them. I mean, there's Jarvis Johnson, Casey Alonso, Gabby Bell, Ted Nivison, Eddie Burback, Chad. It goes on. That's just to name some, and they're all still really big channels. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of other channels making similar content. Not all of the creators I've mentioned make the same content, and the trends have very much shifted in the past couple of years. So for the purpose of this video, I'm primarily focusing on those big 5 creators and the content they made between 2018 and 2022. There are videos reacting to like niche TikTok communities, political commentators on podcasts, YouTube channels featuring niche lifestyles, and my personal favorite, videos on low budget or just generally bad movies. Some of these videos do feature traditional commentary, oftentimes of a social nature, regarding the behavior exhibited in the content. The subjects of the videos can really range drastically, from films to niche influencers to bona fide celebrities to everyday people just participating in a trend. I have regularly watched this content, and I still watch plenty of the aforementioned creators. Not all of them. They're funny, they're engaging, and I don't really feel bad after watching one of their videos. I find myself laughing, and laughing makes me feel good. So I believe one part of this is just the nature of what laughter is. We as humans like to laugh, and studies have shown that the laughter of one person can elicit laughter in another. Laughter is contagious. And as one scholar puts it, the necessary stimulus for laughter is not a joke, but another person. When watching YouTube videos, it isn't just the comedy that makes us laugh, but getting to laugh with somebody else, particularly someone that we look up to or admire. You've likely heard the term thrown around online, but it's time to talk about parasocial relationships. The concept of parasocial relationships was kind of coined back in the 1950s by Horton and Wall. They described how media on a large scale can allow viewers to know such a persona in somewhat the same way they know their chosen friends, through direct observation and interpretation of appearance, gestures and voice, conversation and conduct in a variety of situations. When you regularly interact with media figures, you start to develop a relationship with them. You can begin to feel as if you know them, that you care about them, and that you understand their opinions. Once a parasocial relationship is established, a media consumer appreciates the values and motives of the media character, often viewing him or her as a counselor, comforter, and role model. Now, why does this matter to the discussion we're having today? We tend to trust the authority and opinions of people that we've developed relationships with. And when we start to understand their opinions, they can begin to influence our own. Much in the way that our friends in real life can affect our interests and our speech patterns, our parasocial relationships can also influence our actions. Within the context of commentary YouTube that makes fun of people, it begins to normalize cruel comedy or disparagement humor. As Janes and Olson describe, disparagement humor is any humor that derogates or provides negative information about someone or something. The joke's form implies levity, whereas the joke content is abusive. Jokes such as...
His alarm said rise and grind. Oh, fucking goddamn it.
Must he forget? Balls vlog.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Balls Vlogs. Welcome back to another ball vlog.
Just imagine if this happened to you. You're just like at the club minding your own business and you accidentally bump the girl standing next to you and her boyfriend puts his hand on your shoulders and you turn around and it's fucking Justin from Wizards of Waverly Place wearing what can only be described as the upper body version of a loincloth.
Fit into this description of disparagement humor. They are emphasizing the negative aspects of the content subject while still maintaining a lighter atmosphere. The creators of these videos often leave disclaimers to be like, don't send these people hate, this is all in good fun. In doing this, the YouTuber creates a clear play frame that indicates to all that the putdown is not meant to be offensive. In adding this disclaimer, the YouTuber can throw off criticisms of making this type of content, as the subject shouldn't be offended because it was just a joke. Utilizing this play frame makes it clear to both the audience and the video subject that the disparagement humor is not meant to be taken very seriously. Therefore, offense shouldn't be taken. The genre of comedy is used to justify what's being said. It truly is a very effective form of content creation. It's entertaining, it's evocative, so people click on it, and it also is protective against criticism. I have learned firsthand that content with titles that are critical or have heightened language are more likely to be clicked on. And it has the double-sided benefit of attracting both the people who agree with what you're saying and the people who don't. When making content on the internet, engagement is everything you want. Whether it's somebody making a comment saying they like your content or telling you that you are just wrong, they do the same thing. They boost your visibility. But with this type of content in particular, it disfranchises the criticism. Ridicule is also an effective strategy because it makes retaliation inappropriate for the target. If a target becomes angry, then he or she may be perceived as being unable to take a joke, whereas a person who insults others will probably be perceived in a negative manner. A person who ridicules others may be perceived as witty and clever. Keeping it lighthearted eliminates the impression of being cruel. But at the end of the day, millions of people are watching these men make fun of someone. The intent may not be to be cruel or to hurt anyone, but there's no way to control how an audience interprets it or how they internalize it. Parasocial relationships can go so far in influencing audiences to think or act a certain way, but there also is very little control. While a creator or notable figure can influence their audience, their influence can be interpreted in a wide variety of ways, and it can lead to behavior that was completely unintended. Would I, in their position, be making fun of these people? I'd like to say that I wouldn't, but I watch videos making fun of people, and I laughed at those. I probably could not have come across the video You and not laughed at how trite it was. Watching somebody else make jokes about a low-budget film is incredibly enjoyable. Part of it has to be Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude is a German term describing the pleasure that we receive from seeing somebody fail to succeed or be embarrassed, be humiliated. It comes from Schaden, which is damage or harm, and Freude, which is joy. And it's often talked about in psychology/sociology. It's also often talked about in a negative context as kind of guilty enjoyment. However, Schadenfreude can be transformed into something less shameful when the humiliation feels justified. The subject being ridiculed deserves the ridicule due to their own actions. Understandably, Schadenfreude is more likely to arise when people deserve their misfortunes and when misfortunes happen to people who are disliked. What are the first videos you think of when I say these YouTubers' names? I'm going to tell you what I think of. Cody Ko and Noelle Miller. I think of Girl Defined right off the bat, where Cody and Noelle poke fun at the two women preaching strong Christian beliefs on their YouTube channel. Danny Gonzalez. I think of the videos he made recreating bad crafts from Troom Troom, the company that makes shock value DIYs and life hacks. Drew Gooden, his series of videos poking fun at low budget or generally bad movies. Curtis Connor. I think of his videos on TikTok, the sexist tweets, and alpha male podcasts. All of these videos have something in common. Their entire premise surrounds around laughing at someone or something that the audience sees as an object that cannot be redeemed. I'm not saying that 5-minute crafts deserve pity or that alpha males in their podcast deserve a redemption arc, but there is something notable about how these figures are easier to direct disparagement humor towards. In the article exploring the when and why of Schadenfreude, Smith et al. Delved into the different forms of Schadenfreude and determined that one variant of Schadenfreude producing misfortune that seems at least partly explained by deservingness are cases in which the misfortune is linked to the suffering person's hypocrisy. When Jake Paul is being made fun of by basically any of the prominent commentary creators, it feels justified because there is an audience of people that feels Jake Paul essentially deserves it. He has been known to be cruel, he's been known to make fun of people, so it's as if he's getting a taste of his own medicine. Schadenfreude doesn't feel shameful when the person being ridiculed is bad. Seeing Troom Troom being made fun of feels fine because it's an intentionally shocking and useless channel. As an audience, we identify with the commentary creator as part of a group that sees the video subject as justifiably bad. We naturally identify ourselves with the in-group and see those who aren't in it as the out-group. The in-group is the creator and their audience, us, and the out-group is the figure or piece of media that is justifiably bad. I believe at the core of the reason that we enjoy this type of content is it makes us feel good. When we bring this all back into the context of YouTube, we can think of how being a fan of a creator places you in a predetermined group due to just being part of the individual's audience. You are part of the audience because you disagree with Jake Paul, because you find Troom Troom bad, because you also think this movie is goofy. By being part of this creator's audience, you are part of a community that has something in common. You enjoy this disparaging comedy content, and you have some level of agreement in what is good and what is bad. It feels good to be part of an in-group, and we can bolster that esteem by putting others down. It absolutely sucks to say, but sometimes the misfortune of others has the effect of making us feel better about ourselves. When we find humor in something, we laugh at the misfortune, stupidity, clumsiness, moral, or cultural defect suddenly revealed in someone else to whom we instantly and momentarily feel superior, since we are not, at that moment, unfortunate, stupid, clumsy, moral, or culturally defective, and so on. To feel superior in this way is to feel good. It is to get what you want. It is to win. We justify these jokes because the subject matter seems to be cringe, hypercritical, or just wrong. But what happens when we can't justify it anymore? What happens when we learn that what we're making fun of is a lot more complicated than just a video on a screen? There is one majorly influential figure that I have not mentioned up until now. This is a YouTuber who found a lot of success with this type of content in the past, and it would be difficult to say kind of who popularized it first. That individual is Felix Arvid Ulf Kjellberg. It's PewDiePie. Around this era, he definitely had a trend in his content of making fun of people. Not always super mean, but he definitely had a lot of content making fun of TikToks and people doing cringe things. In fact, there are so many that I'm not going to talk generally, and I'm going to bring up a specific instance. In summer 2020, PewDiePie made a video making fun of a woman's nails in a TikTok. What he didn't know, or didn't take the time to realize, was that the woman was using ASL and is deaf. It very well may have been an honest mistake on his part, but it is very significant of how normalized it has become to make fun of people online. Particularly when we don't know them, they don't have social capital, and we don't have context for what we're seeing. It has become so normal for people with massive followings to poke fun at people with lesser followings or just everyday people who don't have followings. And the fact that the followings is such an important aspect is wild. Social media makes me feel crazy. We all exist on the same internet, and anything at this point can be used for content. The people who are famous, the people who want to be famous, the people who use social media to connect with their friends, and the people just using it as a personal diary. This massive power imbalance makes this commentary content inherently predatory. There's talks in the ethics of comedy about punching up versus punching down. Essentially, at whose expense is the joke being made at, and who has the power in the situation. Someone with millions of subscribers has a lot of social capital, and they have a responsibility to be careful with what they say to millions of people. The term influencer is quite literal. When you have that many eyes on you, you can influence people to think, act, or feel a certain way. Sure, there's not a lot of control in that, but your actions can still have an influence. When it involves laughing at someone who doesn't have the social capital you do, it can have detrimental effects on the success and well-being of the butt of the joke, particularly when the jokes turn mean-spirited or downright discriminatory. There is a very big difference between Drew Gooden making fun of Jake Paul and PewDiePie making fun of ASL in a TikTok. There is a big difference between making fun of a film produced by hundreds of people and a video produced by one. That it's unethical or inherently wrong to lightheartedly poke fun at someone, but there is a lot about this framework that makes it feel not great. This content can get into commentary about the subject's actions or words and how they are dangerous and deserve to be criticized. But I feel that even that commentary falls flat when the video's entire context is, it's just a joke. In the That's Cringe episode of Girl Defined, there are a lot of real criticisms about the rhetoric that Girl Defined is spreading. But what stands out in the video are the jokes about what the women in Girl Defined say and their description of Mr. Struggle. It's easy to laugh at them, even when there are very real reasons to critique their videos. The goal of Cody Ko and Noel Miller's video about Girl Defined wasn't to critique them and to add some commentary to this discussion of sex and relationships. It was to find comedy in it. The biggest takeaway, to quote my friend Jessie, is let's point and laugh. Most troubling to me is the normalization of making fun of people for being cringe. It's in the title of That's Cringe, and it seems that it's deeply ingrained in the way that these videos talk in their verbiage. A primary concern seems to be with the subject being cringy, and it typically takes the form of someone with social capital punching down. It's enforcing what should or shouldn't be acceptable behavior. When we post on the internet, we are posting to the entire world, and we cannot control who sees it or what they think about it. We can't control what they may do with it. I'm about to out myself as a no good Instagram Reels user, but the number of just sheerly cruel videos I see is astounding. Entire accounts are dedicated to reposting videos of just normal people being cringe, and it's usually just somebody doing something. Maybe they are dressed uniquely, or they're dancing, or they're expressing an odd opinion, or maybe they're just not conventionally attractive. Regardless, their existence has become reason enough to ridicule them for being cringe. I know that these sort of accounts exist on Instagram, as I said, but also on TikTok, and YouTube channels find a lot of success with this. It is impossible and useless to blame YouTube cringe-based commentary content for the popularity of Instagram and TikTok accounts that just are dedicated to making fun of people. But I think these YouTube channels are significant of when cringe became more mainstream and ubiquitous online. Making fun of people on the internet is way normalized. Realistically, we probably have Reddit to blame for a lot of this, but I'm not going there today. So why does this all matter? We've discussed why people are likely to make this content, why we enjoy it, and a few of the issues that can arise from it. But does it really matter? It is super easy to believe what we see on the internet. There is so much content on the internet, and it really isn't difficult for somebody to posture the authority to speak on a matter. If you agree with a few of someone's opinions or you're a fan of them, it can feel a lot easier to take all of their opinions and their words at face value, or your interpretation of face value. Even now, I am positioning myself as an individual who has the authority to talk about this subject. I haven't given any credentials, I have cited some research, but you would have to go and check and make sure it's all actually real. I could have completely made up citations. I didn't, but I could have. It's important not to just question what the content is saying, but who is saying it and to what end. What do they get out of it? The way information is conveyed can be so misleading and deeply influential. It is just as important for viewers to be active consumers as it is for the person creating to be conscious of what they're saying. You will never 100% agree with what somebody says, and you shouldn't. It is important to stay mindful and critical of the content we consume. A pretty important part of commentary content is in the name. We have the ability to both create and consume different opinions whenever something happens, and commentary can often shape public opinion. It's why we have everything from political commentators to film reviewers. Once somebody becomes a trusted source on a subject, they can be turned to understand how we should be interpreting a situation, a piece of media, or a person. This is the case for news with political commentators, but it's also the case for how we interpret each other online. Commentary can inform what acceptable social behavior is, and in many ways, it can also be a very effective way at critiquing someone's bad behavior. When someone like D'Angelo Wallace creates a video highlighting someone's alleged bad behavior, it is both someone being held socially responsible for their actions, and it opens a larger discussion of what should be socially acceptable. That's just part of how society functions outside of the internet. Societal pressure influences how people behave. Cringe content functions quite similarly, but rather than critiquing something damaging, illegal, or dangerous, it often critiques something that we all risk falling into. Being embarrassing. Being human. I don't know about you, but I don't really want to live in fear that anything I do could end up on the internet and make me be ridiculed for being cringe. And I don't really want to laugh at people who are just enjoying themselves. I don't think comedy poking fun at people in all cases is inherently bad. I think comedy is a fantastic tool for evaluating what we prioritize in society, bringing attention to what is overlooked, and evaluating how we interact with each other. I think comedy can bring to light some of the less good parts of the world in a way that isn't that threatening. And in many cases, it can remain kind of lighthearted. And sometimes it's just really funny to laugh at being a human. It can be both funny and rewarding to laugh at the silly things that all humans do because it comes from a place of relatability. In the past couple of years, I have seen a decrease in this sort of cringe-based commentary content. Part of that could just be I'm not seeking it out anymore, but the channels who would make this type of content have kind of shifted. And I think that there's been a turn towards appreciating the lesser known parts of the internet, such as Curtis Connor's video on James Chapesky, or that there's videos that are more critical with their commentary, such as Drew Gooden's video on Cybertrucks and the people who praised Tesla. Some of the aforementioned creators have branched out to different styles of content, and some of their content has now developed to actually have more commentary. It is interesting though to look at this phenomenon and try to make sense of it, especially as someone who watched a lot of these videos as they were being released. I think watching this content as a teenager especially really impacted me in a way that I hadn't really thought about. I definitely was finding myself more critical of other people for doing things that were just kind of cringy or deviant from the social norm, and I was also more critical of myself for doing those things. I started writing this script back in 2022 when the word cringe was at its peak, at least according to Google. But for several reasons, I put this video on the back burner. I knew it had the potential to be a divisive video, and I just wanted it to be thoroughly researched. Essentially, it wasn't ready. It needed to incubate a little longer. Despite the times changing somewhat, I know that negativity still sells. And I completely understand the tendency for creators to want to pull in an audience with explosive, mean, jarring language. I could even be seen as hypocritical here. I'm making this video with a negative and evocative title, making disparagement content about how disparagement content can be bad. However, I do think there's a difference between critiquing actions and adding commentary to a conversation and criticizing cringe. I also think there's a lot of nuance in understanding how content as a whole, and I mean basically any media, can go to create climates where social behavior is either normalized or demonized. I know I've thrown a lot of concepts out there, but if there's one takeaway from the video, I want it to be this. It is so important for us to be mindful of what we're consuming and be critical of the people we are listening to. Basically, don't trust anything anyone says on the internet. Everyone's wrong all the time. Except for me, because I'm right all the time. I'm kidding. Well, thank you for watching this video. If you have anything you'd like to add to this conversation, I would love to see your comment down below. But keep it nice. Keep it nice. I'm kidding, I don't know, it's fine. If you've been subscribed to me for a while, you might notice that I am not in the same place. And it's because I moved halfway across the country. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate if you wanted to subscribe. If you'd like to support me, you absolutely don't have to, but if you'd like to, I do have a Ko-fi. It's linked down below. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Keanu says bye. If you might notice, there's like an entire Keanu shrine. And the Keanu shrine keeps going up, and I got more over there. It's Keanu Reeves time here. I'm not making Keanu Reeves video. That sounded like it was an Easter egg. It's not, I swear.